Welcome to What I Think. It's a podcast dedicated to exploring diverse opinions on how AI is shaping our world. I created this platform because I wanted to gather insights from various voices. And after 8 engaging episodes, I think there's a rich tapestry of ideas and feelings, and there's a lot of overlap that I think you're going to enjoy. So in this episode, we're going to focus on what each person thought of what artificial intelligence is, and also what young people can do to prepare for its impact. So I hope you'll have a deeper understanding of what AI is, and it'll inspire you to talk more about it. So join me as we navigate this fascinating landscape together. Without further ado, here's the compilation, and I'll see you in the next one. Tell me what your definition of artificial intelligence is.
You have 2 components, right? You have artificial, which means that it needs to be man-made and it needs to derive from, I would say, physical principles. And intelligence is a bit subjective. And I think that shows the contrast in that it is what we call intelligent now is very different from a long time ago. It's things like ChatGPT, it's things like, machine learning with neural networks. It's kind of this tension of, what we make, which is super objective, and also some subjectivity of what we find is intelligent and smart now.
I think it's pretty simple. It's non-human intelligence, anything that's artificial. And I think that's been defined now by a lot of the features that's been out there, be it speech recognition or generation of videos or generation of content. That to me is the definition of AI.
I'm thinking what artificial intelligence means is that we are trying to recreate intelligence while we don't know what intelligence is actually. We don't know the underlying mechanism, but when we talk to maybe animals or human beings, we know that, this guy is intelligent, right? So this is a pursuit understanding what intelligence means.
Essentially, the way I think about artificial intelligence is really being able to train and work with a superpower that really knows you better than almost anybody else and on tap 24/7 and aid you to accomplish many more things than you were capable of either with a team or with investors, because you can pretty much do it all on your own.
Wow, you call it a superpower. I like that.
AI is just I would say, more elegant or fancier word for statistical modeling. So all of the, let's say, neural network, they're all based on different ways of building statistical models. Ultimately, it's math.
I have a witty definition of artificial intelligence that I coined in 1992, actually, when I started to study. At that time, I was saying, when it doesn't work, it's called artificial intelligence. When it works, we call it computing. Yeah. So it's still sort of relevant today, but the serious definition of artificial intelligence is when we use machines, computers, to achieve a result that would require intelligence. So if you have a human that performs a task and they use their intelligence to go from input to output, the computer can do the same thing. So generate the same output or perform the same task. So it doesn't mean that the computer is intelligent. It means that the computer can produce the same results that a human would produce using their intelligence.
I would define AI as an advanced computer or code that helps you to provide you with the answers that you need, that is derived based on its database as of today.
The other way I think that you could look at it is, can you reverse the system? So right now, we don't fully understand the human mind, and it does really interesting things. And I think the place we are with transformers right now is headed pretty rapidly into black box territory, where, the person built the thing and it's giving these outputs that seem really interesting, but you can't reverse engineer the process, that it's nonlinear, it's iterative, it's recursive. And I think that's pretty interesting in terms of thinking about what makes animal intelligence special. And there are traits around that I think are emerging in these emergent systems.
The other thing that sort of comes to mind is when people compare AI against humans, well, AI you can measure very specifically, against particular benchmarks and so forth, but humans you cannot. Humans, I think, on a bell curve. That means it's a very, very different situation, because some most, smarter people, perhaps still smarter than AI in certain areas, but, that means all the non-PhD people, already have been surpassed by AI in many ways. So that's kind of really, humans are in a very different situation. Some are specialized, certain PhD topics. Most other people outside the field just simply don't understand at all. So it's very difficult. That makes it, I think, extremely difficult in a meaningful way to make statements, AI is better or not, and Turing test included.
Yeah, it really is immeasurable. What I'm finding more and more is too, there's different types of intelligence. Even building relationships and commonality and things like that.
find something that you find exciting, and it could be anything. It could be drawing, it could be math, it could be building your own computer, it could be whatever. And out of that, you can think, okay, how can I use AI or these toolbox for my specific problem, for my specific passion? I think it's the most natural way to get excited and to get into that field. But it needs to stem from something you genuinely like and to see this as a tool. And then out of that, I have no doubt you're going to do great things.
So I think the one advice would be to ignore any advice that comes from your parents or from older people trying to give you advice, because it's bound to be wrong. And that was, true, I think, many decades ago. It's even more true today. Who knows? So I think my advice just would be similar to, I think, what Steve Jobs and others have said: do what you're passionate about, follow your instincts. And because that's the highest likelihood, I think, to be good at something, if that's something that you enjoy, that would be kind of have fun. Then, the rest will follow, I think.
I agree in principle. I think that if you were to pick one thing, it would be malleability. It would be, as a human being, the capability to navigate a variety of different stressful situations, a variety of different challenges, but not necessarily saying, hey, I'm going to be an accountant, because the robots will do that for you. So my gut is that this might be a jack of all trades future. But again, don't listen to me.
Okay. Well, no, that's to really diversify in your knowledge. Sounds like something. I do many things, so whether that helped me in the future or not, we shall see, right?
I think about this very frequently because I am also a father with kids. I think about how we should educate our kids. And my mind may shift, but my current experience and conclusion is that when everybody is trying to buy a single stock, maybe you should consider the other way. So if everybody is looking at AI or using digital tools, I think we should go back to the first principle. Humans are social animals. When everybody is trying to pay attention to communicating via or with a machine, I think the scarce resources is the human part. The communication skills or the social skills, that is going to be sought after when AI becomes the standard skill set in the future. It's very hard to predict what the next 20 years will be like, but if I need to bet on something with my child's future, I would think still learn how to speak English or speak any language you find useful, Spanish, anything, but also learn how the world works in terms of physics, math. All those things are the fundamentals of building a future. By having that kind of solid fundamental knowledge and skills, should not go wrong. Even you don't know anything about AI, but you are really good with people, there's always space for you.
That data that we see out in the world, whether it's a prompt, whether it's media, whatever source, will become more and more biased. And it's up to our own filter to try to figure that out. And so that awareness, ethical awareness, that situation awareness, I think will be even more critical to discern what is the truth and what do I want to take out of it. Again, there is no absolute truth, but at least you know where it is and where that stands vis-a-vis yourself. I think that discernment is critical. So for kids, for our kids, I think that's something that I try to teach and try to impart and try to keep grounded. I don't see it as a scary world for them. I see it as a tremendously powerful world. And I'll end with this. Remember when we were growing up, the people that got email the fastest, the people that got Facebook the fastest, the people that had access to Google and really understood Google the fastest really had the power, right? Because they were able to connect faster. They were able to search faster. AI will be the same. And people that know how to prompt, people that know how to work with prompts, they know how to discern information from prompts and information from ChatGPT will be the guys that actually were the first ones on Google. And so knowing how to manipulate it, knowing how to control it, knowing how to deal with it is especially critical. And that's a skill that they need to learn. But again, not be totally encapsulated and carried off with that, but really know how to control themselves within the AI technology, knowing who they are within the technology is really the most important piece.
A useful place to start is that if we continue this kind of creative production type of use case, I'm very optimistic, right? So I think first and foremost, use it and see what works, what doesn't. Be dutiful to know that, you should also be your editor and curator, whatever comes out of it, and then build up your portfolio from there. In terms of the workplace, again, this might sound like super optimistic. I feel like with all these tools right now, you don't really need those establishments anymore. Do you really need a university lecturer prefer to give you that validation on your short film, given all the tools out there. Maybe you don't. I'm more prone to, yeah, just do it, just Nike it, just like singing, songwriting. You have to write a lot of shit songs before that, one or two decent songs comes out. And I think we now have the tools to accelerate that, to make that process less lonely or less cumbersome.
Off the top of my mind, there are three things that in my personal experience help me a lot to think when it comes to developing kids for the age of AGI. One is building a strong foundation of not only hard skills, but also soft skills. While AI can talk to humans and other AI, humans still need to work with other humans in the future. So these soft skills such as critical thinking and teamwork, these are still very important as kids prepare for a career in the future. Second is that I think AI makes us better humans. For example, as a parent, I have 3 boys and they all have different personalities. And I have bought a ton of parenting books that I haven't had time to read yet. So I learned to summarize a lot of that content and customize it for my kids so I know specifically what techniques and what phrases I should use for each of the kids. And for kids, it's them learning how to teach themselves new knowledge and to help themselves learn with AI. So using some of the personalized tools and using AI to expedite learning. For example, in our Python 101 course, we have an AI agent that answers questions and help students debug. And the third is, I think that in the future, there's certain roles and occupations that are called like the soul touching occupations will be still very invaluable and won't ever be replaced. For example, teachers. I think teachers are still super important when it comes to encouraging the kids to learn, motivating them, and caring for them. There's nothing that replaces a teacher tapping on the shoulder of a student and say, hey, buddy, how are you doing?
Yeah, humans first, but the AI can make you better. The knowledge and productivity and learning about any facet essentially is at someone's fingertips.